PTM.
What is PTM?
Yeah. Sounds like an acronym for pooping.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, right? I'm not the only one who thinks that.
I think because, like, BM.
Right, exactly.
I don't know what the T would stand for. I don't think I want to know. But, no, I totally thought the same thing.
Now I'm just trying to think what the T
We
stands
are
for.
clearly gross and meant to be friends.
I'm trying to think of what the T means.
Oh, God, please don't.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Disney Minecraft Top 5. This week, I'm here with Christine, a.k.a. Ian Malcolm, a.k.a. Jeff Goldblum. We're here talking about the top 5 quotes in Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World, I think, is a very quotable park. I think you'd agree, right?
Absolutely. Also, I feel really honored that you just kind of compare me to Jeff Goldblum. If only I could be that great, Rob.
What's really important with that is that I am now 2 degrees from Jeff Goldblum. Which means I have 1 degree left, and then my life's work is done.
Wow.
Anyway, let's talk about our top 5 quotes. So, top 5 quotes, there were no rules for this. It was just top 5 quotes, and we sort of went through it. Although there are no, I don't think there are any weird quotes here. Let's kick it off with your number 5 here in Adventureland in the Magic Kingdom at Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right. So before you even hear it, you probably already know what it's going to be. Not to say that there aren't some other...
there are a couple other ones there. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no, maybe you're right. Maybe, yeah. No, now I just alluded to the obvious. It's not the obvious. Anyway.
Great.
I just screwed with everybody's head.
I gotta redo my list to just fan service.
Anyway, so my number 5 is...
He wants the redhead!
From the scene in the town where they're chasing, literally, the redhead.
You know what it is? It's like a super classic quote. It's one of the few quotes that sticks out when you ride the ride, and as a result, it's just like, I feel like anybody who's been on the ride more than once knows the line.
And I always have to, yell it in tandem with every time I go on the ride. I don't know. I just like it. I think it's also because I like that scene specifically.
Right.
Of all the pirates just causing mayhem and running around, and I don't know. I just think that's...
Right. They came there and they took over that village, but rather than killing people, they're just macking on the redhead. That's all.
Yeah.
I just want to get with that redhead.
Giving the redhead some love. That's all.
Yeah. There are also, I guess, the honorable mention, the one that you alluded to without realizing it. There's Dead Man Tells No Tales.
Right.
That's it. Right?
There's
not.
Well, here's not a quote, but another very memorable sound, shall we say, is the whistling to the dog.
Okay, yeah, there's that one.
Not a quote.
There's the drunken mumbling of the guy with the hairy leg.
Oh my God, the guy with the hairy leg! I point him out to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm always like, hey guys, that guy has a hairy leg. Everybody look at it, get grossed out right now.
Yeah, it is gross.
Well, they changed a lot with adding, Jack Sparrow and everything. He has lines.
Yeah, but that's new.
Nothing that I can think of truly memorable.
Okay, so here we are at the Jungle Cruise, and my favorite quote. Now, here's the thing. I would guess most people would think that my favorite quote is going to be one of the jokes on the ride itself from the skippers, but my favorite quote actually comes from the cue music, or the cue loop, and we talked about this when we were talking about our favorite cues. This is one of my favorite cues, and it's solely because of the cue loop, which I think is just a great mix of really good music that I like, and a really funny announcer. And the quote from the announcer that I really like is a little bit of a longer one, but it's...
And now, here's today's river tip from Skipper Bill of the Congo Connie. Bill says, if it rains in the jungle, who cares? That's why they call it a rainforest. Thanks, Bill.
And I love this one because the whole queue is it is littered with puns and wordplay. And this is the worst of them because it isn't really. It's just a blunt statement of fact. But what sells the quote for me is just the way at the end he just goes, thanks, Bill, with such contempt for Bill that you know that this guy, Albert Awol and Bill, they have a history. and they do not like each other.
That's what you got.
That's
from
what
that.
I get from that. Yeah, it adds so much to that character. It makes, because it's like all the others are just like really cheesy puns, and it's never acknowledged that they're cheesy puns, and it feels like a character going like doing a shtick. Whereas like this one is just like, come on, Bill, what are you doing? Why are you making my job harder, Bill?
You didn't even try.
Yeah, that was, and I just also like Bill, whose attitude is like, who cares? It's a rainforest. Like, this is the worst tip ever. And so somehow in my twisted sense of humor, that actually makes it the funniest quote I can think of throughout that whole queue. So, I don't know. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because like I said, I enjoyed the queue, but like, I can't think of specific quotes from it, and I do often think of the jokes that I've been told. You know, backside of water.
Right.
One of my favorite jokes ever told, and it only happened once, so I guess it really depends on the cast member. We were pulling in at the end of the ride, and they were like, and over here are a couple of ducks, and those two there, and it was like, this cast member is helping you out. It was like, are a couple of dorks. And for some reason, I thought that was the funniest thing ever. And it always stuck with me. And no other cast member has made that joke since I've been on it. And I always thought that was really funny.
It's great. It's
yeah,
become one of my favorite rides for just the, like, I guess I've grown into that sort of cheesy humor and that self-aware cheesy humor. And this ride is just, there's so much of it every time that it's like become one of the rides where I feel like I can't miss it when I go down there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do it every time. I also love that 9 times out of 10 the cast members like to, ask where people are from, and they just rip on you from no matter what state you're from. They will just make fun of you, and it's hysterical.
Yeah, they really have a lot of fun with it. All right, let's move on to your number 4, which is not in this park whatsoever.
So even though it was hard for me to pick a specific quote from the show, it finally settled on, it's actually 2 different characters. Kermit talking to Sam the Eagle about his finale. And Kermit goes,
Sam, what's it about? It's called A Salute to All Nations, but mostly America. Great.
Amen.
I just think that is the funniest thing. Again, it's like, probably slightly insulting to anyone that goes to Disney that's not.
But it's that great humor. It's that great, like, overly patriotic humor that, like, has been popular lately, but is this, like, predates it by so. Is like the original.
Yeah.
It's
just so it's just so well done.
Yeah.
That, like, you just have to laugh. Like, it's just. So what you're saying is Sam the Eagle is like the original American bro.
You know what? He's like the Muppet Ron Swanson.
I like that.
Yeah, and the Muppet Ron Swanson, who's been around way longer than Ron Swanson. This is another one of those attractions, though, where it's like there's so many to pick from. It was just so well written, and there's just so much there to work with. So,
I mean, you could quote the entire show.
Yeah. Please don't, though, because I do have to edit this video.
Are you sure? I mean,
I have to edit this video. That would be a long video.
I could do it.
Can you? Yeah. Now it's a challenge.
All right.
Verbatim.
Now, no. Challenge accepted. I don't know if I can do it right now.
We'll save it. You know what? We'll save it for the 24-hour live stream.
Yes. Okay. I like that.
Okay. That's perfect. So my number 4 is here in Tomorrowland, and we're outside of the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Factory, but it's actually not a quote from Monsters, Inc. Laugh Factory. It is a quote from the ride that used to be here, and it is a quote from Timekeeper. And if you don't know what Timekeeper is, I will probably do a video on it one day, because I really should, because it was a great attraction. But it was a stand-up, like, 360 vision film that had Rhea Perlman and Robin Williams. And Robin Williams played a robot that invented the time machine, and Rhea Perlman played a floating robot with 9 eyes, named 9 Eyes, which was like the eyes that recorded the 360 screen. Anyway, as anything with Robin Williams, it's probably going to have a lot of improv, and a lot of it was. And towards the end of the ride, not to spoil anything for you, they end up in New York City, and the quote goes as follows:
New York, New York, city of 10 million dreams and one parking space.
And I don't know, I'd say this is my favorite quote. This is like everything we've picked out so far in that it's got a lot to pick from, but this is my favorite one because I am a New Yorker, so a quote that references New York is obviously going to win favor. Yeah, it's just great. This is one of those ones where even if you've never been on the ride and there is no nostalgia, look it up on YouTube and just listen to it because Rhea Perlman and Robin Williams just have like this great back and forth together that makes it really fun, and it surprisingly lasts the test of time in my opinion, considering a lot of these 90s attractions really didn't, like Cranium Command.
Oh yeah, glad about that.
Yeah, that was just like, that's like a time capsule to 1994.
It's been a long time since I've listened to it, and now that you brought it up, I feel like I should really do that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because I don't feel like I remember the dialogue as well as you do. But I know that when I watch it, it'll probably all come back to me.
Yeah, it's one of those, I think, and I don't know if they've ever offered to him again, but like putting Robin Williams in a ride just like increases the quality so much, just because he's a great comedian and that style of comedy is great. Especially like this ride, you know, some of the quotes that I didn't include are ones that like poke fun at Disney World and at like tourism, and similar to, you know, some of the Muppet quote that you mentioned off screen. It's just like something that can poke fun at itself like that's really more enjoyable. But there you have it. That's my number 4. Let's head on to your number 3, which is here in the parks and not this ride. So here we are at Not the Timekeeper for your number 3 here at Splash Mountain.
Yes, that was a weird introduction. Not the Timekeeper.
That's what I'm going to describe every ride from now on as.
Okay, so Splash Mountain has this one quote that is my favorite, and it happens right at the top of the final drop. The thing is, what is being said is kind of cycled, so you won't always hear it every ride. But it's when you get to the top, and who are the ones going after him? Bear,
Rabbit. No, Brer Rabbit's the good rabbit.
Yeah, Bear,
Fox.
Brer Fox, yeah.
Yeah, Brer Fox.
So just as you're going up and they're playing that creepy music that kind of plays, it's like all eerie because it's like, oh no, you know, Bear Rabbit's gonna get thrown into the briar patch, and what are we gonna do? And Brer Fox goes,
"So you're looking for a laughing place, eh? We'll show you a laughing place."
And it's so creepy.
Man, yeah.
And it stuck in my mind the first time I was on this ride. I was like 10. And it just like really builds up the drop. And they say a few different things, but I feel like that's the one that really stuck with me. Because it kind of freaks you out.
Yeah, I was going to say, not to mention, like, we put all these on a Google Doc, and on like in text form without context, that sounds like such a strange and bizarre threat. Like, we'll show you like, I picture, when I read it, it took me out of Splash Mountain, and I pictured like a bunch of 1930s gangsters in Chicago. It's like, we'll show you a laughing place. And then they kill the person, and that's it's like.
Well, I mean, I'm not. They're kind of.
That's what they're planning to kill him, right? Yeah.
So it just, and it makes it kind of just creepy, and you're already kind of freaking out because you're climbing up this, you know, this thing, and you've never done the drop before, you know, you don't know what to expect. Just makes it a little bit scarier. So I say listen out for it next time, and like I said, it doesn't happen.
Let's move on to, my number 3 and your number 2 are at the same place. So let's head on over there. So here we are at Not the Timekeeper, or as some people like to call it, the Haunted Mansion. And I guess we've got 2 quotes to cover here, but we're going to start with my number 3, which is not so, I don't know, would you consider this like a famous quote? Probably not. I just have an odd fixation with it. And it is when your ghost host, through the point when you're getting in the stretching room, goes,
"Your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding."
You know what? This is one of the quotes where I love it for the language, for like the writing of that quote. It's what he's saying isn't like really that over the top or memorable. It's just the words picked to say it is like beautifully written. And I feel like it's something because you're being ushered at this point from like this room into the stretching room and you're excited, you're getting on the ride. I feel like it goes over most people's heads and isn't as memorable. But for me, it's like my favorite. It's one of my favorite quotes in all of Disney World, which I guess is why we're doing this video and why it's on this video. But, you know, there you have it.
I have to totally agree with you about word choice. I mean, I'm somebody who really focuses on that a lot because I am a writer, so I get a little weird because I have favorite words. Like, I just have favorite words. They just sound good, or I
What's
like
your
the way
favorite
that
word?
they look.
Quick.
One of them is indubitably.
Indubitably.
It's a great word.
That's a good one.
Indubitably.
It's a lot of good lip movement there.
I also like apropos. That's a great word. But yeah, I mean, even listening to it, even reading it on that doc, like, because there is something aesthetic about words as well. It's so good. Like there's some pretty fine words there for a little kid to learn, you know. So pay attention, younger kids, and
I guess
get that dictionary.
It's one of those quotes that I think sets up, you know, the Haunted Mansion is very split between trying to be creepy and being fun. And that goes back to its history of, you know, having the two Imagineers who sort of butt heads on how they wanted to take it. And I feel like this line sort of sets the tone for the first half, which is, you know, this is going to be a creepy experience. This isn't, you know, grim grinning ghosts. This is, you know, your cadaverous pallor.
Right. And like I said, because I'm sure a lot of kids probably don't even understand what those words mean, I mean, it kind of almost appeals a little bit more to the older set. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, you know, I'm going into this ride in Disney World, but because there's this, I don't know, sense of intelligence almost there with the way it's written.
I kind of remember when I heard it, and it was like the first time I heard it and understood what it meant and being like, oh, that's so great.
Yeah, it really is great.
But now your number 2 is also here, so let's hear it.
At the opposite end of the ride. So yours is at the beginning.
Right.
Mine's at the very end. When you are leaving the ride, or really it's actually when you're pulling into, right? Like right before you're about to pull in. There's Madame Leota at the top of the little doorway.
Yep.
And she says,
hurry back, be sure to bring your death certificate if you decide to join us.
And I think that is the best thing ever.
And it's also ridiculous because a ghost can't hold a piece of paper, and she should know that because she's a ghost. She's just trying to mess with you. This is like the ghost equivalent of, hey, do you want to buy a pass for the pool on the roof?
No. Have you ever watched the show Supernatural? They're able to own their energies and pick things up. I'm just letting you know.
Isn't that also a thing with Ghost, with Patrick Swayze? It's like Ghost rule.
Well, that's kind of the idea of poltergeists. They get angry enough they can make things move.
Right.
So don't discount the fact that I can bring back my.
Well, what a shame! Like you're gonna use your ghost allowance on bureaucracy of bringing your death certificate. That's the worst. I think she's pulling a trick on new ghosts, and she's just trying to haze the newbie ghosts. That's what she's trying to do.
Maybe.
And also she's just like a creepy little Christmas tree angel, which is just super creepy, right?
Oh my god, now you're making me want one for like...
No, gosh, it's the worst. It reminds me of like the Yadros my mom used to buy. Like, it's just like, I don't want that thing to have a tiny little face that talks to me.
Man. Can we start a new tradition of a Halloween tree and
just top it off with Madame Leota, the little Leota?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a great quote, though. And now I've just thought of that new meaning, that she's just like the jerk senior ghost. Like,
I don't know.
Where's your death certificate, huh, chump? Can't come in. Sorry. Sucker. There's no death certificate here. We don't have any filing cabinets. Brought it for nothing.
Wow.
So let's move on to my number 2, which is not in this park or any parks. It is somewhere outside of a park. Okay, so here we are at not the Timekeeper, or as other people like to call it, the Monorails. And so that's all I have to say. Like, you know what the quote is at this point. And the quote is, of course,
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
And it's...
That was some good Spanish.
Thanks, I've been practicing. It's so famous to Walt Disney World. It isn't like the last quote where it's like beautifully written, or it's a warning for the monorail, like stand clear of the doors. Yet it has like this history behind it because it has become sort of a part of Disney World culture that anybody who's gone to the parks like more than a couple of times, like they'll nod along when you quote that, because it's just something about when you're on the monorail a lot. It's so iconic to the point where Disney even though they've replaced the voiceover for safety features and just narration between stops on the monorail, they've kept the original clip because it's just too well known at this point.
They've also made T-shirts with the quote on it.
Yep.
You can find them in Mouse Gears. Usually carries them. And once, I think the first time I saw that was a couple of years ago when I was there, and I was like, "Why didn't they do this sooner?"
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
Can I just say, like, I remember seeing that shirt for the first time, and it was no joke. The first time I had seen that quote in the written form. And I was like a flatlander seeing the third dimension for the first time in my life. It blew my mind because for once, like, this string of sounds, I saw the words that made them up. And I was like, oh, that's what it is, as if I had been wondering my whole life. And so it was like, even though I don't have the shirt, that shirt was like one of the greatest things to ever happen to me.
Great story. When I was in Spain, I went to Madrid. And there's a shuttle you take in the airport, and they don't say it, but they have that phrase, obviously it's Spanish, it's in Spanish, on a sticker on the door. And I started freaking out. I was like, oh my God, this is the thing from Disney. And of course, my boyfriend, who like hasn't been to Disney since he was like 10, was like, what the heck are you talking about? And was embarrassed because I was sitting there trying to take a photo.
Trying to Instagram the sticker?
I was. I was like, I have to take a photo of this. And he's like, Christine, everybody is staring at you taking a picture of this like window. But it just blew my mind, and it shouldn't have, because Spain, Spanish.
Right.
But for some reason, it was so ingrained in me as a Disney thing that like I was blown away.
It's like seeing a teacher outside of school. It's just like, whoa, what? So here we are at not the Timekeeper, or as some people like to call it, the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And this is, well, your number one, so take it away.
Okay. So right as you're about to take off on the awesome ride that is Big Thunder, you hear, the whole like safety spiel in this great twangy southern, accent. And right before it's about to like really go, you listen to the guy say,
"Hang on to them hats and glasses, 'cause this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness."
And I think that is one of the most famous quotes, I would say, in the parks.
You think so?
I think so. People bring it up a lot to me. I feel like it's definitely a thing I've heard other people mention or say. I think that it might not be something that like immediately you're like, oh, that's a great quote, like when you're sitting there, but you hear it each and every time you get on this ride. And I think it's just been kind of so ingrained in my head that I just like it so much. I think it almost just kind of encapsulates the entire Big Thunder Mountain. I don't know why, but that quote is the quote.
It sets the theme or the tone very, very well, which is that it's, this very clean Disney version of the Wild West, and he just says it in a way that, I don't know, as somebody who has watched Deadwood many times, it's not necessarily the most realistic depiction of what people were saying in the Wild West, but that's sort of what makes it the fun, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's fantasy, wish fulfillment, of experiencing the Wild West in a way that, you want to.
And then I also love that, he's saying, hang on to your hats and glasses, which is totally something that,
it's functional at the same time.
Right. And you would see tourists walking around with hats and sunglasses, and so it's kind of funny. But I don't know. I think it's something about the quote, the way it's delivered, where it happens in the ride. Again, like when I was a kid, I mean, my opinions have changed through the years of coming to the parks, but when I was younger, for a long time, this was my favorite ride.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's also why I love it so much.
And so here we are at not the Timekeeper, or as I like to call it, Spaceship Earth for my number one. And I guess it's no surprise that my number one ride is also the source of my number one quote. And I've spoken multiple times in multiple videos as to why it's my favorite ride. And I think this quote sort of sums it up perfectly. And it is not at all like a famous quote. I don't think you'll ever see this on anybody else's top 5 quotes. But it is towards the end when you get up and you're in the large part of the dome and you can see Earth from afar. And this is during the Jeremy Irons version because it is the one true version of Spaceship Earth.
100% I agree.
And he goes,
"But will these seemingly infinite communications become a flood of electronic babble? Or will we use this power to usher in a new age of understanding and cooperation on this, our Spaceship Earth?"
And it is my favorite quote in Disney. It is probably one of my favorite quotes, like, of all time. And I think the reason is it takes this attraction that teaches you the history of communication and puts you in the context of understanding just how much we went through as a species to develop communication to where we are today. And then it just puts it on you and it goes, hey, are we going to use this for something useful? Or are you just going to put cat pictures on the internet? And, well, we kind of know how it turned out, sure.
The latter.
But posing that question, I think, is just a fantastic... I think it sums up what Epcot's supposed to be. Not just Spaceship Earth, but what Epcot's supposed to be. It was entertainment, it was educational, but at the same time, it puts the promise of the future in the hands of the person who's riding it and poses this question directly to you and sort of just puts it all together. And I think it's just perfect, and that's what makes it like one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I also just like the phrase electronic babble. I picture two things. I picture just like a robot going blah 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 blah. But I also picture like a stream of ones and zeros just flowing through like a babbling brook of digital electronic babble.
I like how your two things you pictured were one very deep and
very literal.
And then very literal and kind of stupid.
Yeah, and they kind of take away from the weight of why I love this quote so much. And it's just something I try to remind myself of a lot, just in the big picture of especially things like this channel. Am I going to try and add something to humanity with these videos, even if they are just Disney history? Or am I just going to, act it up like some of the sillier YouTubers and just, make electronic babble? And I don't know. It's a very deep quote for me.
I'm with you on that, and the funny thing is I don't think I've thought about it so deeply, but the reason that I particularly love that quote, and I mean, the actual quote for the newer stuff has slightly changed, but I'm pretty sure they end with that line, on this, our Spaceship Earth. Yep. But it's that moment when they're turning your seat in towards that like hologram thing of Earth. Mm-hmm. When they say it, and for me, it's reveal. The quote combined with that moment literally gives me chills.
Yeah.
Every single time I go on the ride. Every single time. It's just so perfectly synced up with the movement and what you're looking at. And like you said, I mean, what they're saying is so profound. And like when you throw it into that moment, it just kind of like hits home. And always gives me chills.
So there you have it. Our top 5 quotes. This was actually, I think, one of the most fun to do next to smells, because carpet. But I want to know, what are your 5 favorite quotes, or maybe your most favorite quote? Do you agree with some of these quotes? Maybe you love some of them. Maybe you hate some of those quotes for some weird reason that you just hate quotations. Whatever it is, let us know in the comments below. I love to hear what you guys have to say. It's always fun talking about Disney in this way. And especially if you have ideas for other top 5s that you'd like to see us do, let us know, because, you know, we always like to take ideas and use them.
And I would also like to know what people think the T stands for in VTM. I just want to know.
If you want to follow me or Christine on the social networks where we flood the world with electronic babble, I'm at Rob Plays, and Christine is Big Bruin Evil with a no G. And beyond that, you also do some other stuff that is fashion related. Tell me about it.
I run a blog with a friend called 2girls1outfit.com. So if that's something that interests you, come on by.
And you've done Disney, what's the word? What's the thing?
Disney bounding.
Bounding. Never heard of that before until like recently.
Yeah, I'm sure some of your viewers know what it is. So yeah, we definitely did some Disney bounding. I Disney bounded as a Donald Duck.
Nice.
For one of their Halloween parties. So if you want to check out how I did that and how some of my friends did their own Disney bounding, you can definitely check that out on the blog.
Anyway, thanks again for watching. I hope whatever you do this week, you make the most of it. If you want to help out the channel, the best thing you could do is just tell a friend, because maybe they'll enjoy these videos as much as you do. Anyway, have a great week, everybody, and I will see you next time for the next Disney World Top 5. Bye! Bye. Or as I like to call it, not the Timekeeper. Warp Epcot.
Also, I think you said Timekeeper that last time.
That's actually that's the Timekeeper's Jewish holiday. Tom Kippur.